We got bad news out of corporate America. We learned yesterday that Nike was scrapping plans for a new shoe for the 4th of July that featured the Betsy Ross flag on it. We have the Betsy Ross flag right behind us on set. It's that early American flag, you know, with the circle and the stars. And why is Nike scrapping this shoe? Colin Kaepernick, of course, their spokesman, the guy calling the shots. Colin Kaepernick is now saying that the Betsy Ross flag, one of the earliest American flags, is offensive. We're not talking about the stars and bars, right? We're not talking about the Confederate flag. We're talking about the Betsy Ross flag, one of the earliest flags in the country. Why is it offensive? Because it was flown during slave times. So now we can't have that. We got to ban that flag. Now, of course, this doesn't make any sense. This all comes as bad news out of Gallup comes out. American pride has hit an all-time low. You know, we've talked in the past weeks a lot about pride, how pride is a terrible thing, how the left now is making an idol out of pride itself. They have pride parades, Pride Day, Pride Month. And there is a slight distinction to be made, which is that I don't use the word casually, or I try not to, but used casually, not emphatically, pride in a national context can be a stand-in for piety or loyalty or affection. It doesn't necessarily just mean chauvinism or something like that. Now, just 45% of Americans describe themselves as extremely proud of their country. Less than half. The majority of Americans are not extremely proud of their country. Just 22% of Democrats are extremely proud of their country. That's down 10 points in just 1 year. Even setting aside our problems with the word pride, I think we can acknowledge pride, when you're not just making an idol out of pride itself, when you're using it in a broader context. It's a stand-in for affection to your country. And just 22% of Democrats feel that. I called this 10 years ago, this whole flag thing. I called it. I was a freshman in college, and my roommate and I, we were like the only two conservatives at the whole college, and we had a nice big American flag, and we flew it out of our window on Old Campus. And this was very controversial. People asked us to take it down. They were furious that we flew an American flag. I couldn't believe it. I said, what's the matter with flying an American flag? It's the flag of our country. They would have felt better if I flew a Chinese flag, because that would have been inclusive. That's not inclusive, obviously. It's one of the worst regimes in the history of the world. But in the leftist backwards world, that is inclusive, because it's encouraging to Chinese foreign exchange students or something, international students. But the American flag, the best flag in the history of the world, that's the worst one you could possibly imagine. So I saw this happening. And I said, it's not going to be long before the American flag is considered a hate symbol by the pop culture. Because whatever the sort of lefty, crazy colleges are doing, fast forward 10 years, that's what your culture does. So that's happening now. Colin Kaepernick is trying to outlaw the American flag, trying to, from a cultural level at least, ostracize and banish the American flag as a hate symbol. Governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey, one of the great politicians in this country, he didn't take too kindly to that. Doug Ducey came out and issued a statement. He said, quote, "Today was supposed to be a good day in Arizona with the announcement of a major Nike investment in Goodyear, Arizona. And then this news broke yesterday afternoon. Words cannot express my disappointment at this terrible decision. I'm embarrassed for Nike. Nike is an iconic American brand and American company. This country, our system of government and free enterprise have allowed them to prosper and flourish. Instead of celebrating American history, the week of our nation's independence, Nike has apparently decided that Betsy Ross is unworthy and has bowed to the current onslaught of political correctness and historical revisionism. It is a shameful retreat for the company. American businesses should be proud of our country's history, not abandoning it. Nike has made its decision, and now we're making ours. I've ordered the Arizona Commerce Authority to withdraw all financial incentive dollars under their discretion that the state was providing for the company to locate here. Arizona's economy is doing just fine without Nike. We don't need to suck up to companies that consciously denigrate our nation's history. And finally, it shouldn't take a controversy over a shoe for our kids to know who Betsy Ross is, a founding mother. Her story should be taught in all American schools. In the meantime, it's worth Googling her." Excellent response. Absolutely beautiful. Totally gets it right.